And now we break away from our regular programming to a mega Mirror Now impact. The very day that GST was rolled out, Mirror Now discussed and pointed out the anomaly in GST that made cigarettes cheaper, but sanitary napkins and glucose biscuits more expensive. After we brought up this issue, the government took note and the GST Council chaired by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley took up the anomaly, reviewing the GST on cigarettes and has slapped an additional cess on it. This is a Mirror Now impact. To discuss this further, breaking with our regular programming, we have Mirror Now Executive Editor Faye D'Souza to discuss the impact of this additional cess.
Well, this is a really important and I believe a very positive move coming in from the central government, from the finance ministry itself. And I also want to welcome at this point to this conversation Gopal Krishna Agarwal, who was the guest representing the government and the BJP on our urban debate on the 5th of July. Mr. Agarwal, thank you for joining us. And I remember we had this conversation where we talked about post-GST, through calculations, somehow actual costs of cigarettes wound up being cheaper, and there was a general fear among those people who work in de-addiction, those who work with discouraging children and discouraging young people from smoking, that lower rates would result in higher numbers of people smoking. And you in that show promised us that if there is a problem in calculation, that you will speak to the government, that the government will take a look at it and it will be corrected. I want to first of all thank you for having that conversation and for reaching this result. And I want to thank the central government for taking the suggestion that we made here on the channel so seriously, because this sends out a very clear message about what the government believes is good and where we stand on the entire question of tobacco, doesn't it?
Definitely, and I just welcome your comments and your program also. That time whatever anomalies were pointed out, and when this change took place on the cigarette, the FM has already in his statement has also clarified that this anomaly was pointed out where the impact of input tax credit on cigarettes was not taken into consideration while deciding the rate, new GST rate on the cigarettes, and therefore earlier it was impacting at 28 point something taxes, which was changed to 28% tax and 5% cess. But then the input tax credit was not taken care, and as you pointed out, and as I said on that program also, that the GST is actually a work in progress. Government is with an open mind. Any anomaly, anything which is pointed out to the government is taking very fast decision. Our Revenue Secretary, our Ministry of Finance, GST Council are very active on the issues. There are several issues which are arising on the implementation level or other issues which the government is very keen to resolve and resolve at the fastest speed. So therefore we welcome all the programs, or anybody, individual or professionals or media or anybody, that if anomalies are pointed out, we will take very fast and brisk action to correct those anomalies. And the basic philosophy which the government has, we should understand, is that we don't want that the new GST rate should be equivalent to effective rates of taxes which were applicable on those items before GST. And for essential items which are for the common people, we definitely want them to be reduced, but non-essential items and other things which are luxury items or sin items, government has no intention of reducing GST rate at present. So therefore this is the basic philosophy. There are several issues on HSN code and other anomalies government is taking care of, and we are in a work in progress stage.
Well, Gopal Krishna Agarwal, you're a regular guest on our primetime urban debates here on Mirror Now, and we do raise on a regular basis issues that impact every citizen. This was one of the issues that we brought up that you were part of, but you've been part of other discussions as well. And you know, we want to believe that these discussions are reaching the corridors of power, that the government is receptive at this point to the issues that we're raising at Mirror Now. Is that true?
Definitely, all because the present we see our Prime Minister is very active, even directly. He has been responding on mygovernment.in. The Revenue Secretary is responding on GST Council Twitter handle. They are answering on individual queries also. There is GST Pathshala. All these issues, government is very keen that we have a transparent system, and we welcome all your debates, and therefore I come to your debates also, where I come to know many of the problems from the people, from the callers, which are their genuine concerns, and we talk at various platforms. This is the way, as a spokesperson, we are expected to do. We communicate the government policy to the people and take the people's problem to the communicate to the government. This is the chain, and media is an important chain, and I appreciate Mirror Now on these issues that you take at many point of time.
Gopal Krishna Agarwal, I'm very tempted to ask you one more question. While I thank you for your presence, we have, of course, brought up other issues as far as GST is concerned, and one of them is the tax on sanitary napkins. Is that something that the government is perhaps reconsidering from inside of the GST Council? Are there further representations? We know that the NGO, particularly in question, has now approached the courts, but is this something that the government is reconsidering?
No, but that time government has already clarified on the sanitary napkin issue, because there are several raw material or input product which are being which are used in the manufacturing of the napkins, where if the government reduces on the final product, then those anomaly will further complicate the matter. The government has very well considered those issues and has decided on this rate, but still people are open to put their views. Your views have been taken to the government. Government has answered, but still it is for the GST Council, because we believe in a federal democracy, where GST Council has finally to take the call. Individually, neither the ministry will take a call, neither revenue secretaries will take this call. We all put together whatever concerns are there, then GST Council and experts decide on that. But at point of time, it is a considered decision on the napkin side, but still it is open to the court. Then whatever the court decide, and ultimately even GST Council can reconsider. Right. Because you had earlier.
Let me also, Mr. Agarwal, bring in Sanjay Jha, of the representative of the Congress Party, who joins us on the phone line. Sanjay, thanks for joining us. You were also part of the discussion we had on GST and the effective tax on cigarettes and the final price of cigarettes. And we want to acknowledge on this channel, which we always do, we raise issues towards whichever government is in power, whether it's in the state or the center. And we will always, and I promise everyone here on this channel, when there is good work that happens, when there are governments that listen to the representation of the people, when we bring up issues and we actually see impact on the ground, I want to acknowledge the impact that is done. And Sanjay, we have to at this point acknowledge the fact that the GST Council and the Finance Ministry have paid heed. They've corrected the anomaly, that the prices of cigarettes are now effectively, post the new duty, about 4 or 5% higher than they were pre-GST. So would you accept that it is a job well done?
Well, Faye, let me tell you, first and foremost, I remember being on that debate on your program when we were discussing it. But, come to think of it, the government actually needs to acknowledge that they discovered the inconsistency, and by actually correcting it, by increasing the cess, they are going to earn 5,000 crores rupees more. So I think the government, I don't think, has any noble objective of worrying about cigarette consumption and education of the common man about not taking in nicotine, etc. I think they were seeing a clear revenue loss. So I think, in all fairness, it is the GST Council, not the government. So to that extent, Mr. Agarwal is right, that this is not to do with one party, but the collective wisdom of all the other states which are involved in this entire process. And therefore, end of day, I think that has been critical in making this decision happen. Because if you'll notice that the cigarette companies were actually getting extremely buoyant, believing that by reducing the taxes, they would actually make it more attractive for people to buy and consume cigarettes of different lengths, etc. So the principal point that we need to acknowledge here is in exposing that anomaly on that day on the Mirror Now debate. I think the government of India recognized, and this is huge. I think this is huge because you're talking about a potential loss of income of 5,000 crores. Now, that number could be 100 crores here and there, but that's a lot of money. And I would say that let's not be so charitable as to assume that the government has done it because it has a larger social and altruistic aim. I don't think that's the objective
Well,
at all.
I'm sure Gopal Krishna Agarwal wants to respond to that. Mr. Agarwal, do you want to respond?
One thing I appreciate Mr. Sanjay Jha when he says that I had been fair in giving the credit to GST Council, sharing it with the GST Council. That's a good thing. At least he appreciated it. The second point where he is at fault is that when he says that 5,000 crore, what the FMS about the 5,000 crore loss benefit that the government has, the FMS said very categorically, if this would have not been done, this profit would have, windfall profit would have gone to the this private companies, cigarette companies. That was the anomaly which the government found, and they have corrected it. Ultimately, when we are so fair in our statement, I appreciate the same fairness from Mr. Jha, that the government intention was not alone to get revenue out of it, but it was the larger concept that the government doesn't want to reduce GST rates under luxury item or these kind of sin goods or other things which are not used for the common people, and we want to transfer this benefit to the essential commodities like that. We have reduced the GST on equipment for the handicapped people. Those kind of essential goods require help from the government. There the benefits will be passed on. Ultimately, GST is a revenue neutral concept.
Right.
So that is the thing we should remember.
All right, Gopal Krishna Agarwal, I want to thank you again for your presence right now and also on regularly on the panel. Sanjay Jha and Gopal Krishna Agarwal, who regularly come into our panels, have discussions that I believe is actually actioning change on the ground. We're seeing improvement, we're seeing changes because governments in every state and governments in the center are open to hearing the feedback from people. They're open to hearing the feedback from the media, and they're actually actioning changes, and this is really where the real magic is. This is really where the real difference is being made. I want to thank both of you for your time, and like I said, massive impact, and I want to acknowledge this impact, the fact that we brought up the anomaly in cigarette pricing after GST. The GST Council, the Finance Ministry have looked into it, they've fixed it. This is what it is about. This is why we do what we do, because when we bring this up and when governments pay heed and when we see change on the ground, we know that it is journalism that actually matters. It is journalism that actually is changing things in the way we live today and the way our children will live tomorrow. This is why Mirror Now is the channel that it is.